I want you to weigh in first on what I talked about earlier in the program, which is President Trump's political standing. My general view is it's not as bad as MS Now anchors think, but it's not as good as the president claims. How would you appraise his capacity to get stuff done now based on his political standing?
Yeah, I mean, the number of times that I've sort of written him off in terms of his political standing, whether it was, criticizing John McCain's uh, war record or the grab them by the what stuff. Like I'm very sort of loath to make any predictions on this case because I thought, Bill Clinton was Freddy Krueger, is like you try and shoot him and stab him and he just keeps coming back. And Trump is tenfold of that. But I do see a shift without question. And I think it's a combination of a few things. Certainly the Epstein file saga, the focusing a lot of time on foreign affairs rather than the America First agenda that he has campaigned on more than 10 years. And then obviously, first and foremost, the economy and affordability and how, real folks are feeling at home. And I think that combination has really caused I don't know, I wouldn't call it a significant breach within his sort of the MAGA base, the diehard 38 to 40% that will be for him no matter what. But I think there's an erosion there. And if you combine that with independents who don't like any of this, I think his political standing is taking a hit for sure. And as we go into the midterm elections, as you know, Mark, when you're running for office, it's about me. It's about me winning my race. And
Right.
if I have to distance myself from the president, I will distance myself from the president. So I'm not going to say he can't get anything done because of the shift, but he has proven he can get things done no matter what the political environment is. He has really effectively used his authority of the executive. But it's not great. And let's see how the rest of the year unfolds. Like I think he is taking a hit right now.
Yeah. My colleagues and the pundit class spend a lot of time saying he needs to feel their pain. He needs to acknowledge how people are feeling. But to me, it's really more, can he actually turn the economy around? He's not going to talk people into thinking the economy's good. So you talk about Trump, but also just in general, because you've worked for lots of politicians who've had this same challenge. Is it possible to turn the economy around? I always hear Republicans now say, well, presidents get too much credit for the economy when it's good and not enough and too much to blame when it's bad. But it seems like people are expecting him to do what he said he would do. Is it possible for him to change people's perceptions by making the economy better? And is the conventional wisdom right that he's got to do that relatively soon in the new year to impact the midterms?
Yeah, well, I don't want to undermine the ability to feel voters' pain. I mean, I think Bill Clinton was a master at it, and it's what won him the election in '92. The ability to actually empathize with folks. And it's what actually hurt Biden in his reelection in 2024 when he was running, telling people that the economy is great. You just don't understand. It's great. It's going in the right direction. You just don't understand. People don't like that, as we saw in the election results. You can't flip the economy on day one. It doesn't work that way. And I'm no economist, obviously, but I've worked in an administration. You can't flip it in one day, which is why you can't tell people that on day one, prices are going to come down. There are a lot of different factors. So I do think there is time between now and the midterm elections, for sure. And we see him or the administration try and put some policies in place that will have immediate effect, but I don't know if it will. Like reversing some of these tariffs on grocery prices, a 50-year mortgage, it's just not realistic. Maybe reversing the tariffs will have an immediate effect, but I don't think it will have a long-term effect.
Yeah. I want to ask you three questions about Epstein, and what's gone on and what is going on. First of all, the president points out, Republicans point out, that when Joe Biden was president, you didn't hear Democrats clamoring at all, really, certainly not en masse, for disclosure to support the accusers and the victims. What's the argument? What's the response to that criticism of the party?
This is politics, pure and simple. And you can see by a near unanimous vote, both in the House and the Senate, to release these files, that this is where the politics of this decision stands. You cannot, with a straight face, not be moved and compelled by the victims and their stories and the fact that they have been fighting for this for as long as they have been fighting for this. And the idea that you would be against that, obviously, this is a political podcast, is a bad political move. So I am sure that if these files are released, we still don't know that they will be. I'm not certain that it will be done in any near time frame. But I think, and there may not be any evidence of criminal activity of folks because the DOJ has looked at this already. But many folks, both on the Democratic side and the Republican side, I'm sure will be sullied, will be embarrassed. It's not going to be good for anybody.
Yeah. So just to go back to the question I asked you, you said there are politics involved, and of course there is. I'll take small issue respectfully. I don't consider this to be a show about politics. I consider it to be a program about America.
Okay.
Politics comes up, but
well,
anyway.
When I come and talk on it, I talk about politics.
Oh, no, you talk about America too.
Okay.
Again, the victims have spoken out for years. So you had Democrats, men and women, in the Biden administration who cared a lot about these types of issues. You have members of Congress who do. So again, what's the explanation why for 4 years as Joe Biden was president, he could have made these documents public? Why? What's the explanation of why the Democratic Party didn't?
I don't think there was a clamoring at the time for it to be released or exposed. The big factor here is that during the campaign, and many of the Trump supporters publicly said these files need to be released. And
but why didn't the grassroots, the Democratic Party, say that in 2020, 2019, and 2020?
I can't answer that. I don't know. It wasn't as big of an issue then, because remember, we were dealing with a pandemic. There were a lot of other top of mind issues. But I think that's why it has come to a real head now, and that's because folks were promised that they were going to be released, and then they weren't released.
Right. Okay. Larry Summers hasn't been accused of any crime. He hasn't been indicted, and yet he's lost, every, as best I can tell, every professional affiliation he has because of his appearance in the first release from Congress that contained emails that showed he had a very close and practically contemporaneous relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. If you got a call from a client who said, "Patti, my name has never come up in the Epstein matter, but I have reason to believe that it's going to come up in the release of the documents. I don't want to lose my professional life, my reputation. What can I do?" What could that person do in advance of the release?
That's a very good question, Mark. You always ask such interesting questions. First of all, in my firm, we don't work for individuals, so that would never actually.
Okay, so let's say it was it was a CEO of a company who was your client.
Yeah. This is the fall of Larry Summers was swift over this. Jeffrey Epstein was a sick, really individual who committed serious crimes, and who I think many people out there felt never got what he deserved in terms
Yeah.
of justice, right? So I think that's a real issue. So it's if my attitude is release these files. I think first and foremost, that's what the victims are asking for their own justice. And the chips are going to fall where they may. And honestly, if again, Larry Summers didn't commit any crime
Right.
other
So if-
than truly
Right. So
truly
if a
horrible
client,
judgment,
if
horrible
the-
judgment.
if someone called and said, you represent Acme Industries, and our CEO says he didn't commit any crimes, his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was similar to Larry Summers. They hung out together. My client had no knowledge. Your client had no knowledge. What would you tell them to do? Because now they've got a little time, right? This thing, I think, snuck up to some extent on Larry Summers. I can't imagine he anticipated this happening. So what could someone do if they were in that position? No crime committed, and let's just say for this hypothetical, they're very remorseful that they had the relationship with Epstein. What would you recommend that they do to try to avoid losing their job, losing their reputation?
Yeah, it's a difficult call because there's a playbook for these sort of things, a crisis playbook, get out in front of it, reveal everything, all of the sort of the crisis 101 or political crisis 101 of the things you should do.
Right.
I am sure that there's just an absence of information. If you're a CEO or a person that you think you're in the files, but you just don't know, right? You just don't know, and you don't know which of the files are going to be released, and so it's a tough call whether you come out ahead of it or whether you just wait and see what actually happens. So, I think I would fall on the let's wait and see.
Yeah, and what kind of things would you prepare in advance?
Oh, just you're obviously, again, this is sort of a playbook on crisis. You have to prepare a holding statement. You have to just the level of how awful it is, whether or not you do an interview, whether or not prepare all of possible questions that you may get answers for them, get all the facts, stuff that one does when they're in the middle of a.
All right, last question for me on this, which is, I get asked all the time, maybe you do too, why was Donald Trump so opposed to disclosure? Well, if he claims this is a Democratic scandal, if he claims, correctly that he cut off his reputation with Jeffrey Epstein as best we can tell, what's your theory about why he was so opposed to disclosure, if you have one?
I mean, my assumption is his name is in those files, and I don't believe he committed any crime of any kind. Nobody wants to be in these files, and nobody wants their name released, I'm sure.
You need to ask yourself, are you being lied to? Wall Street insists the only way to have enough money to retire is to put your life savings into a 401k or an IRA and then roll the dice with it in the Wall Street casino. But if that were true, why does studies show the average American following that advice will outlive their savings by a staggering 10 years? And even the man who invented the 401k says it's a monster that should be destroyed. Now it's time to get the truth and discover a better way to grow and protect your money. Bank on Yourself is the proven retirement plan alternative banks and Wall Street desperately hope you never hear about. It gives you guaranteed predictable growth in retirement income, tax-free retirement income, built-in inflation protection, and much deserved and needed peace of mind. You can get a free report that reveals how you can bank on yourself and enjoy tax-free retirement income, guaranteed growth, and control of your own money. Just go to bankonyourself.com/Mark to get your free report. Again, that's bankonyourself.com/Mark. One more time, bankonyourself.com/Mark.